Egberto Willies is a political activist, author, political blogger, radio show host, business owner, software developer, web designer, and mechanical engineer in Kingwood, Texas. I don't know if there's anything else this guy does or what, but he's got a hell of a lot going on. Anyway, Egberto he's an ardent progressive and believes tolerance is essential. His favorite phrase is political involvement should be a requirement for citizenship. He believes that we must get away from the current policies that reward those who simply move money, capital, and produce nothing tangible for our society. Egberto was kind enough to have me on his Politics Done Right program to discuss my new book, Hijacked Nation, Donald Trump's Attack on America's Greatness, which helps us understand what to look forward to under this new Trump administration by reflecting on his actions in the past. Now it's Egberto's turn, so I welcome you, my friend, to Lean to the Left podcast.
It's my honor to be with you, my brother. I think those of us in this progressive space, we have got to stick together. And we have to also, in my opinion, talk to each other, work with each other, and make sure that we are all multiplying the message out there. I believe that 1 + 1 in the progressive space isn't supposed to equal 2, but it's supposed to equal 3, 4, 5. So it's a different math when you're doing what we do. And I wish more of us would do that.
I'll tell you what, I'm with you on that, my friend. I really am. First, tell me a little bit about your enterprises, what you do, what's your background?
Let me tell you, I'm originally from Central America, Panama, and I came to the United States on the American dream. I remember when I was a young kid and my grandfather, who lived in New York, he would come to Panama and I would pick up his shoes and I would say, imagine these shoes walk in New York. That is the kind of guy that I was back then. There was a mystique about America, no matter where you are in the world. And eventually, a lot of us in Panama, our goal was to come over here. Some of us in my town wanted to join the American military. Some of us came over, like myself, to go to school, and I went to college over here and University of Texas over here, and became an engineer. Did that for a while, and after my daughter got out of school, it was time for me to go for my real passion. Back in school, I was a real activist fighting for the divestiture from South Africa because of apartheid and all of that. When you get into corporate America, you have to lay low for a bit, which is what I did. But again, after my daughter got out, I put my company on ice and really started doing what my passion really was, and that is progressive politics, progressive activism, and you know what we feel, make the world a better place, Bob.
Absolutely. Fill me in on your media initiatives. You've got a live radio show, video show, a newsletter. You've got some books you've done. What the hell else is that going on? Tell us about all that.
Let me tell you. I have a program on Pacifica Network, KPFT. In Houston, it's KPFT 90.1 FM. And I do that 5 days a week at 6 a.m. Central Time. So anybody want to pick that up? It doesn't interfere with Brother Bob's at podcast time. So you can check us out at 6 o'clock a.m. Central Time, Eastern 7, of course. And we're on the internet. So if you just go to politicsdoneright.com, you can find out about all our programs. So that's what I do. That's my first stint in the morning. 6 o'clock, I start with the radio show.
Holy mackerel. I'm just getting up to pee at that time.
But man, and after that, but let me tell you, in our field, brother, there's one thing that and my daughter stresses this a lot. And because we're in the stressful field, you got to try to, as best you can, you can't control Mother Nature, but as best you can, is healthy. I try to eat right, get up in the mornings 5 days a week, and I spin. At 4 in the morning, I spin. And after spinning, then I come into the studio. And luckily, the arrangement that I have with KPFT, Pacifica Network, I can do the entire video audio right here in my home studio. And it gets transferred over the internet to the station, who then broadcasts it over here in real time. So we have that set up with the Pacifica Network station, and it works like a champ. So I get to do those 5 days in the mornings. And then at that point in time, it's research, watching the news, checking out what's going on. And as you're watching the news, you're taking clips that people are going to want to hear about or see to believe. And after doing the clips, etc., go ahead and blog a few things and then prepare for my 3 o'clock internet show. And my 3 o'clock internet show, that's 3 Central, same place you can get it at politicsandright.com. I do that show at 3 a.m. And in fact, you were on both of them.
I was.
You were on Pacifica Networks, KPFT 90.1.
Yeah.
And you were on my regular show that is both of them are podcasted after the show. But you were a star for a whole day, man.
Oh man, I'll tell you what, I didn't realize that.
You got some kudos. People like
you. Didn't tell me I was on the one that you do at 6 in the morning?
Yes, you were on at 6 a.m. So people probably thought you were awake. You were sleeping while we were on with you, man.
That's cool. That's pretty damn cool, I got to tell you. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the election.
Oh, God.
All right, things seem to be going pretty well for Kamala Harris, and Trump's messaging was so dark and negative, and I really did think that she was going to pull it off, but then people bought into Trump's negative messaging, and I just want to know from your perspective what you feel like were the major factors that cost her the election.
I want to give, before I even answer that, brother, the mea culpa. I knew Kamala was going to win.
Yeah.
And not only did I know Kamala was going to win, I know that all the polls were wrong and she was going to win by a landslide.
Okay.
Because I knew women. I knew women, and I knew women are going to say, I am tired of men taking advantage of us. I'm tired of all these issues. I knew that.
Yeah.
I was wrong.
Yeah, me too.
I tell everybody out there, look in the camera and tell you, I'm sorry, I was wrong.
Yeah.
I could not believe that the patriarchy still had the power that it has to enslave the minds of so many. And I don't want to be harsh on the people who voted for Donald Trump, but my brother, that is look, there used to be a time when after slavery, the Black population, there's a certain percentage that emerged, not unscathed, but they moved forward. But there's a certain percentage that just couldn't get away from the chains, right? They just couldn't get away from the chains. That was slavery. That was slavery because of what I look like.
Yeah.
But that's to all my African American brothers and sisters, forgive what I'm going to say, but I mean it to the depths of my heart. Worse than the slavery of pigmentation, of who you are, is the slavery of the mind. And the slavery of the mind affects many. And to every single woman that voted for this man, and I say this with respect to the women who voted for this man. But at the same time, I must say, that is how an enslaved mind works. That you are able to disassociate what this guy represents, not only towards women, but towards your personal economy, and still vote for him because of a caricature you have allowed to be made of this Black Asian woman, this caricature that you use your own prejudices that were imparted into you to do it. That's an enslaved mind. And yes, there were many, not only women, many folks had an enslaved mind to support that. I can understand the billionaires, but the ones that it is shameful, really is.
Yeah, it really is. Now, I think it was in your newsletter, you discussed I think there were 4 or 5, maybe 5 key points that you felt cost her the election. Would you run through those for us?
Yeah, I'm not sure which newsletter you mean, but here are the points that I like to mention, right? Okay. First of all, there is a certain kind of campaigning that Donald Trump used that they didn't use and I don't understand why. But what he did is he did what's called targeted marketing. And what he did is, this is one person, Kamala Harris. He marketed her to every demographic differently. To white women, he marketed her as somebody who won't keep you safe. To black men, and this is, I think, quite embarrassing, but all he needed to do was clip a few. He marketed, she wants to take your menthol cigarettes. Amazing. Wow.
Oh, really? I didn't hear that one.
Oh my God. The micro targeting was amazing.
Incredible.
The low information black men, they received, she wants your menthol. To Palestinians and Arabs, he said, this woman is married to a Jewish man and she hates you guys. To Jewish people, she said, he marketed, this woman wants a ceasefire and will cause the destruction of Israel. For every demographic, they were micro-targeted with the message that they sent to them. So while he didn't, there are two things that micro-targeting does. One, it actually causes people to say the real low information ones, they will go out and vote for Trump.
Yeah.
But the others will say, I could never vote for Trump, but hell, I'm not voting for Kamala. Right. And if you take a look at the polling, at where the things are, the drop off that she got versus Biden was huge in an election that was so critical. Another thing that she did, and this one I can't, how should I say this? I understand why she had to watch how progressive she was, but I think she could have done, I think she could have toned the progressive message a bit, intertwined with the populism that Donald Trump was trying to preach.
Yeah.
And back in 2016, Donald Trump did the same thing, by the way. And this is what I wrote about this at Daily Kos, and I got sliced to pieces because I told them Donald Trump was going to win in 2016. I thought we had learned our lesson for 2020, but in 2016, I said Donald Trump is following the path of Bill Clinton, which is triangulation. Donald Trump was all for healthcare for all. He didn't call it healthcare for all. The things that Democrats were fearing to say for being accused of being populist, Donald Trump was saying he would do back in 2016. So back in 2016, I don't remember all the things that I itemized, but I just like I did with the 5 points, I itemized that and I said, this doesn't look like a Republican running. This looks like a populist running. And that is he's going to win the election. Oh, they tore me up. He'll never win. He can't win. But he won. He didn't win the popular vote, but he won in the places he needed to win. And again, Kamala just couldn't overcome that kind of a pressure that in these things. But again, even with all of those things happening, because I had indications, not completely indications of what happened with the targeted marketing, but I really, brother, thought that the women were going to come through. And in fact, you'll see me have blogs that says, women are going to save us. Women are going to save us.
Yeah, I saw that, and I really thought that too. I really did. What about racism and sexism?
Okay, now you're talking. That nothing that you're hearing on mainstream media that wants to make it the economy makes any sense. What the economy does is it removes the responsibility from those who are racist, prejudiced, or uncomfortable. And notice I separate those. You're racist, that's one thing. There are folks that are prejudiced, that's another thing. And then there are folks that are just uncomfortable with people not like a man running the show. And again, the uncomfortable ones would be things like the Latino men, right? These are the misogynists, sex, and those bros that you see talk about. Those are the folks that are they're uncomfortable with a woman having a position of stature. Then there are the prejudiced ones. These are people without power, right? And they think, I just don't like having folks that's not like me taking power. Then, of course, there are the racists that we have the power to control this, and we'll never have somebody like that have it. And if you isolate those people who voted for Trump, The racist ones, you have the Elon Musk. They are the ones with power.
Yeah.
The women out there, the white women that just tried to find an excuse not to vote for her. I say this respectfully, but the prejudice, that's what did it. Respectfully, you have to work on it. Like I had to work on my sexism. I had to work on my homophobia. I worked on it. I was an idiot. I worked on that personally.
Good for you.
You have to work on, and I'm talking to white women, white men, I'm talking to Latino men. Yep. You have to work on that prejudice that you have, that society put onto you. Yep. I did my part. I was, and one of the reasons I like to talk about having been a sexist and a homophobe is I want to show that by human nature, we can all have those isms. It's what do we do about those isms? Yeah. I extricated them from myself. It's time for you to extricate, for the country, extricate your prejudice so that we don't get another Trump, or so that Trump doesn't get to execute what he wants to execute.
How did you extricate them from yourself?
It had to be intentional. I was going on I had a company I was a partner in a company called PWL, and we were going to do a project in China, Xi'an, China. And I was talking all these crazy things about homosexuals and how much I disliked them and disdain for them and all that kind of stuff. But I'm an engineer. I'm supposed to be factual and things based on fact. And I remember our physicist was myself, the engineer, the physicist, and the electrical engineer. And we were sitting down together, and he just looked at me straight in the eye, and he looked at me and he said, "Are you black?" I'm like, "Yeah." He said, "Can you stop being black?" "No." "How do you feel about people who don't like you for who you are?" "Can you change that?" "No." "Can you change who you look or what?" "No." Then he says, "A gay person, can you just look at a person and know they're gay?" And there are some gay folks that are expressive, but others aren't. Most aren't. And I'm like, "No, I can't tell." He said, "So why the hell would somebody who is gay," and this was my conversion. Other people had different conversions, but my conversion was to make the calculation that, my God, a person who wants to have relation with somebody with the same sex, why would they expose themselves to the prejudice if it wasn't something more? Mm-hmm. And I flew from Houston to Michigan, from Michigan to Japan. By the time I got to China, I was a gay rights activist.
Really?
It was that quick in my head. It wasn't in the heart, it was in the head. Right. If I saw two guys kissing and two women, I like two women, but if I saw two guys, it's crazy. I'm just saying. If I saw two guys kissing, it was like, oh, crazy. When I knew I had it completely extricated, when two guys kissing was like, oh. Then I said, okay, it's gone. The sexism, believe it or not, I think may have been harder because that's how we grew up in Panama. Panama is a very sexist country. And it took a while. And I remember I was a part of a group called Move to Amend. And I said the wrong thing. And they stopped. It was all the board members there. They stopped the meeting. And the rest of that meeting, those 2 days, were dedicated to making sure us guys got it straight. And they hammered it into our head about sexism and the stupidity of sexism, etc. I left there mentally fixed. The heart came a little bit later.
Okay. All right.
And that is what, for those who are going through any kind of prejudices, and this is just based on my experience, other people's experiences would be different, but based on my experience, that's the approach I had to take.
Okay. All right, let's switch gears a little bit. I want to know what your thoughts are now that we've got Trump preparing to take over the presidency. What are your thoughts about where we're headed?
Look, I am concerned more than anything else that, in fact, I just did a piece called, I hate the Electoral College, but the Electoral College got us here. Yeah. Maybe on December 17th, the Electoral College should be used to remove him. I know it's a wishful thinking,
I
okay?
saw you did a piece on that. Now tell me
Yeah.
about it. Yeah.
Yeah, look, if you take a look at what transpired, the first time in our century that the person that lost the popular vote got the electoral college win. In other words, the people were smart enough not to give Trump the win the first time.
Yeah.
And he used that time, but let's go before Trump. The people were smart enough not to give Bush number 2 the win. But Bush number 2 won. And out of that win came a war in Iraq that likely would not have occurred if it were Clinton's, what's his name? You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Clinton's vice president.
Gore.
If he had won the race, we wouldn't have had the Iraq war. Under Bush as well, we got the defense industrial complex went through the roof, and among all the other things he did with taxes. I remember Bush even asked himself, "You're asking me to give another tax cut? I did it already. Okay, I'll do it again." The guy destroyed our budget. So all these things were, and I wrote about it, by the way, plug in my book, As I See It, Class Warfare, the Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. He destroyed the budget. He destroyed he got a lot of people killed.
Yeah.
Now, the people rewarded him because he was a war president with a true popular vote win over Kerry. Okay? But absent the electoral college, we would not have had that distortion caused by Bush, which screwed up the economy, etc., brought it down. Obama repaired it I shouldn't say Obama repaired it, but it was repaired under policies, etc. But that repair took a lot of pain. And Trump was able to exploit some of that pain for an electoral college win. Again, not a popular vote win, an electoral college win. And out of that electoral college win, what did we get? We got a pandemic that got out of control. We got pulled out of the Paris Accords. We also got pulled out of several other things, which then created the environment that gave Biden his win. But Biden had to clean up again. Same thing that done under Obama. Biden had to clean up what Trump did. And in the process, a lot of these things that he instituted allowed the pain of many people. Now, that pain, it's real, but my God, so many people forgot what Trump really represented. And then again, with the micro-targeting that we spoke about earlier in this thing, we got him a popular vote win this time.
Yeah.
And that is the danger, because if you listen to the mainstream media now, they're all talking about he has a mandate, a 1% win.
He didn't have any mandate, man. That's just ridiculous.
And that's what they're saying, right?
This pisses me off about the mainstream media, and I used to be part of it. But the mainstream media, they're acting like this guy's just normal. He's not.
Exactly.
He's not normal. He needs to be in frickin' jail, is where he needs to be.
Yes. And that is, and again, when I talk about the complicity of the media, and remember why they're doing this, though, Bob, they're doing this because they know that Trump has his eyes on corrupting the media, on censoring the media. So if you notice, I understand that Morning Joe went to Florida with Brzezinski to meet with Donald Trump. And if you notice the way they're talking, a lot of them are talking about somehow normalizing this guy. We have to talk to him because he's in power. We have to move ahead.
Yeah.
No, we don't need to move ahead. What we need to do is call him out. And like I was on a call yesterday with some other progressives, what we got to do is beat it into the population's head. We have to be honest with the population now. We have to be honest on sexism. We have to be honest on racism. We have to be honest on all these isms that he was able to use to mess us up.
Yeah, he's an expert at that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Now, what do you think about these cabinet appointments of his? Getz and RFK Jr., for Christ's sake.
Believe it or not, the one that scares me the most, because people are concerned about the Defense Department guy, right? But those generals, If they mess with those generals, will put that little punk aside and say, let me tell you something. You're not going to do this, or we'll take care of you.
Yeah.
So the generals, I am not too concerned about the Secretary of Defense because they'll jack him up. Okay. Yeah. Those generals will jack him up. But who I'm concerned about? Robert Kennedy.
Mm-hmm.
Because, brother, that department is, I think, more than a third of our economy. Okay? We're talking about Social Security, Medicare, vaccine, CDC, everything about our health and everything about retirement, all these things fall under Health and Human Services.
Oh.
That is crazy. And the problem is not that he's going to be able to do all that he does. It's when all these people start to leave, the knowledge base of the department. And they remember what his brain said. We want to destroy the administrative state. And destruction of the administrative state, it's easier to destroy than it is to build it back. And in the process of building it back, the same kind of pains that happen after an Obama or happen after a Biden, we run into, because they do the damage. We try to clean it up, and as we're cleaning it up, damage is still being done, and we get blamed for it.
Yeah, that's the truth. Yeah, I'm really concerned about Kennedy too. I just can't believe that they'll confirm him, but the senators look like they're running scared from Trump, so they probably will. Let's see. One other thing about his cabinet. What have you noticed about the complexion of his cabinet?
My God, there are memes on TikTok right now teasing Tim Scott and that congressman from Florida that is a mouthpiece, two black guys. Yeah. That's a mouthpiece for him because they are the biggest mouthpiece for him. Tim Scott embarrassed himself on stage and said, "That's because I love you, Trump. I love you." A grown man.
I know.
Making a fool of himself.
He wanted to be in the administration so bad.
Yes.
I think he even got married. So
yes. And then I can't remember the congressman from Florida, the one that actually said slavery was actually good.
Oh yeah.
You know which one I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I do. They are experts at twisting things around.
Oh my God.
They really are. So, all right. So with Congress now totally in Trump's hands, what does that portend for our country, my friend?
I actually thought, and people were hoping, praying that somehow we held on to the Congress. And I was telling them, I don't want us to hold on to the Congress. Because when they effect the destruction, I want it to be known the cause. If we hold a House or a Senate, they will be able to somehow turn that into the reason we weren't successful is because of obstruction from those damn Democrats.
Yeah.
Now that they own it all, they own it all. America, all of you who stayed home and didn't vote your interests, all of you women who supported Trump as well, again, we want everything that Trump said he's going to do. All of you Latinos who live in multi-status families, meaning some of them are not documented while others are. A lot of your relatives that I know personally voted for Trump. You voted for Trump. I will tell you something, Brother Bob. You are safe. You may already, are you on Social Security yet?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the deal, bro. You're on Social Security. You are going to be fine. The worst that's going to happen to you is COLA may get reduced into something called, there's a new transactional COLA that they wanted to use under Obama, and we fought Obama. It's called, I don't remember what kind of based on what kind of, there's a name for it. That's the worst I think is going to happen to Social Security people who are currently on Social Security.
Yeah.
But for all you that not yet on Social Security, be ready for, you can't get on Social Security till you're older.
Yeah.
If you are older, remember that's a big savings for the government because you're likely going to die quicker. And you're going to die quicker because you're going to be still working your butt off for this. Hey, it's what you voted for. Actually, not true. Actually, that's what you voted for. Gen X was the biggest supporter of Donald Trump, not the old folk. The boomers wasn't biggest supporters. The biggest supporters of Donald Trump this election wasn't the millennials. It wasn't Gen Z. It was Gen X. The ones that are going to be on Social Security.
Why do you think that was?
Again, it is again racism.
Okay.
There are no two ways about it. This election was lost on race and gender.
Yep. Yep.
No matter what anybody wants to tell you in the mainstream media, oh, people have economic angst. They have so much economic angst that they're spending money like it's falling off of a tree. Okay. That's how much economic angst. Have you been to a restaurant lately, Bob?
Oh, yeah. Too many times.
Look, let me tell you, if this is economic angst that Americans are going through, and by the way, I'm honestly not, for those people who are having it very hard, I feel your pain.
Right.
I feel your pain, but you are in the minority. I honestly feel your pain, but the people that are really going through a hard time, it's a small number. If it's you, it's the end of the world. Yeah. But the truth is, it's not a lot of you. And if you doubt it, go to any store, go to any mall, go to the movie theaters. Everything is full.
Yeah.
Everything is full. So that the truth of the matter is, this stuff about being an economic issue, I don't want to say figment of your imagination because that would be rude, but it isn't that deciding factor. In addition, somebody had a plan and somebody else didn't. She told you what the plan was for people who are having kids. She told you what the plans are for taxes. She told you all these plans. And Trump told you nothing of substance that will make your life better. She told you. But you chose to say she was in office. Why didn't she do it then? Because she was vice president. And that was another one of her mistakes. Not saying I was the vice president. Read your civics book. We don't teach civics in school anymore. Maybe we must, because again, you would know the job of a vice president is not the policy of the administration. So it's not me. Now, I am telling you what I'm going to do, and that's what she did.
Amazing. It's just amazing that it went down that way. Now, you've got your book, As I See It, Class Warfare, the Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. Tell me about your book. It's part of a 3-part series, right?
Yes, it is. My first book is, I wrote the first book during the Obamacare debate because I was so mad and felt so incompetent. And not only incompetent, but I felt I'm right. I just can't get people to get it, the sham that this was. So I wrote the book first as a historical perspective, starting with, I think it was President Kennedy, talking a little bit about how these guys' economies, etc., and then how an economic system actually works and what we needed to do with healthcare, etc., and why Obamacare was a good stopgap measure, but not the end of all ends. And so the book itself was to show that the big corporations were the ones that are stopping our progress. And I gave the examples of Monsanto suing people whose seeds got the DNA from the adjacent lot, and they had to pay up. All these things I explain how until we have a true class warfare, the middle class and the working class will lose every single time. Yeah. But in order for you to be able to go ahead and let me put it up, in order for you to be able to go with a book like this and have people do something with it, because you don't want to preach to the choir. So that's why I wrote the other book called It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relative Friends and Neighbors. And the reason I wrote How It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relative Friends and Neighbors is in order, if you explain something, you have to be able to talk to those who need to be convinced, right? You need to be able to talk to that right wing or your neighbor and these guys and explain it in a way that first they have faith in you, they know what you're talking about, and they'll listen to you. That's why I wrote that third book and the second book. And the third book in the series was called How to Make America a Utopia. And the idea is, okay, after you've got into the space of the right wingers, etc., and they said, so what's next? How do we make this happen? then you go ahead and say, this is how you can make America utopia. These are the policies that we would want to all fight for, and it supports us all. So that's why I put them in three things. They were written years apart, right? But the idea was explain that only class warfare is going to win us this thing. Number two, but you have to be able to convey that to your right-wing guys. And number three, now what comes after you convince them? You told them what the problem is, you find a way to talk to them, and then you go ahead and tell them what our society should really look like.
Okay. You have a kid's book coming up, right?
I don't have a kid's book, but what I have is another one called Tribulations of an Afro-Latino Caribbean Man. It tells you my experiences of being a Black man, a Latino man, and a Caribbean man, all in one body here in the United States, and the tribulations that I had to go through. It is an easy read, but man, I think it'll give a lot of folks a perspective of.
All right, what's the name of that book?
That one is Tribulations of an Afro-Latino Caribbean Man.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I've got another interview in a little while, and that's the guy that wrote the kids' book.
That's the guy that wrote the little.
I just got you mixed up with him. That's all.
That's all right. That's okay. You're a busy man, right?
Oh yeah, but not as busy as you.
No, we're all look, let me tell you, man. We're all doing what we're supposed to do. That's anytime people say, "Oh, but you're busy," and I'm like, and you're twiddling your fingers, right? No, we're all in this space busy, man. We're all trying to get stuff done.
You got to do something, and I know one thing. I don't know how much longer I have ahead of me. I'm 82 years old. But
you're what?
Yeah, I'm 82 years old.
Bull S.
Yeah, and I'm just going to keep going until I drop over, because my wife keeps saying, "I thought you were going to retire," and I did retire. I retired from my business that was making me pretty good money to doing all this stuff that I'm doing now for practically no money. But
brother, how much plastic surgery have you had, man?
I haven't had any plastic surgery.
Damn, you look good, dude.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. Oh man, I'm just going to keep on keeping on, but I'm going to keep going after Trump until I hope I'm around to see his successor, and I hope
you will be. I am sure you will be, man.
I hope that successor is a progressive Democrat, and we get rid of this craziness that's going on these days, with the top 1% getting all the money and everybody else getting screwed. What do you think the solution is, if there is one?
Oh no, the solution again is we have to work it. Democracy isn't easy. Democracy isn't guaranteed, and the kind of country you have is the country you're willing to work hard for.
Yeah.
And I want to tell you something. The people who were working on the getting Roe versus Wade overturned, a lot of them right now are dead. A lot of them are dead, but the movement continued.
Right.
These guys worked for 50 years to attain a goal. One of the issues that we have with progressives that we must mitigate is having patience and having dedication, and the biggest part again, and I'm going to look into this camera and say, brothers and sisters, you also have to support those of us like Brother Bob, myself, in what we're doing here. This, as he said, this isn't the moneymaker like it is on the right. On the right, they lie to you for money. They get a lot of money from the corporatocracy to lie to you.
Yeah.
We are telling the truth, and we sponge for support. So if you're listening to this right now, Brother Bob, support that the podcast, the website, and I must put the plug in for myself as well. We need that support to keep this stuff going. And if we don't, as he just asked, what's the solution? The solution is there are a lot of us willing to continue and build the infrastructure, but we ask that you guys help build this infrastructure.
Absolutely. And I would add to that If you can get involved with local political organizations that are progressive, you should do that. Or whether they're political or just organizations that support programs that you believe in, women's groups, and so on, environmental groups.
Mhm.
I shudder to think what's going to happen with the environment, with the people that they're putting in. Trump said during the campaign, Trump told the oil barons, give me $1 billion and I'll get rid of all the regulations
Yeah.
that are screwing you up. And he put in a guy that's going to make that happen. And you know what? And with respect to the immigrants, I do not understand for the life of me how it is that anyone from Latin American countries who has immigrated here to this country, how they could support Donald Trump. He's going to kick their asses out of this country, and he's starting it already.
Mm-hmm. Let me tell you, interestingly, Bob, this is the thing, right? People look at it like, oh, he's going to have the mass exodus. He will give the semblance of a mass exodus. But what he's also going to do is he's going to use it as a bribing mechanism to decide who gets deported. The reality is our economy, and I repeat, our economy cannot function without the undocumented workers that's cosechando, that's picking the fruit in California. We cannot survive it. Yeah. It's not only that the prices will go up, is that there will be shortages because we couldn't do it at all. So immediately, Donald Trump is going to get paid off by the Agricultural Association of California or whatever, because he will be made known in uncertain terms. It's a quid pro quo. If you deport these guys, we are left holding the bag. We lose money, but you lose people because the prices are going to go sky high, and your butt is going to be on the line. And they'll make him understand that. There are two avenues here. The people that are, quote unquote, the immigrants that they find that are not necessary, they will also make a deal with these camps. Remember, they got to build these camps. His proteges are going to get the contracts to build these camps. His proteges are going to get the contracts to feed these people who are placed in these camps. It's all a fraudulent money-making enterprise, this deportation. It's not about we don't want these illegals here. And that's the wrong word, undocumented workers. That's not the issue. The issue is monetizing the movement of these undocumented workers for a financial gain as we do it. That's all it's all about.
You know what? That's the first time I've heard it put that way, and that makes so much sense. And that's just incredible. That's just incredible. All right. Have you got anything else you'd like to add there, my friend? We've covered a lot of ground.
No, I'm just thankful to be on your program. I think it's invaluable, and we need what you're doing right here. We need that we get these types of narratives out on progressive platforms, on crossover platforms, etc. So all I can tell you is thank you for having me here. I'm thanking you for having a program that actually does this.
Actually, thank you very much. I appreciate that. No end. And I'm planning to keep on keeping on, and I hope you do too.
That's my intent.
Okay.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this Lean to the Left video and that you found it interesting and informative. Please visit on a regular basis and check out our interviews with guests on topics that focus on progressive politics and the important social issues of our time. Now, our interview shows stream on Mondays with special episodes on Thursdays. And follow us on social media. Facebook at Bob Gatty and the Lean to the Left podcast. Now, it's two. Bob Gatty is one Facebook page, and the Lean to the Left podcast is a second Facebook page. Twitter at Lean to the Left 1, Instagram at Lean to the Left 1, TikTok at Lean to the Left, LinkedIn at Bob Gatty, and YouTube at Lean to the Left. Now, I hope you'll support Lean to the Left as well so we can keep things going. just click on the Donate tab at the top of the leantotheleft.net homepage and contribute by buying me a cup of coffee. That'll really help and would be much, much, much appreciated. Now, this is Bob Gaddy signing off for Lean to the Left. Thanks for sharing your time with us.